Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nura Zamri and you're watching Malaysia Tonight. Our headlines for tonight: BNM announces national economy no longer in crisis. Funding models for Pulau Pinang Lift LRT project to be discussed. Bank Negara Malaysia's announcement that the economy is no longer in crisis and continues to gain strength is a big lift to sentiment 3 years since the outbreak of the pandemic. The central bank today announced that Malaysia recorded an impressive 5.6% gross domestic product (GDP) growth in the first quarter, fueled by domestic demand, strong growth in the labour market, and continued expansion in wages that supported consumption spending. At a press conference today, Governor Tan Sri Nur Shamsiah Muhammad Yunus said the growth in 2023 will continue to be supported by further expansion of household spending, continued investment activity, and improving labour market and higher tourism activities.
Growth is projected to average 4 to 5% for 2023 as a whole, anchored by firm domestic demand. Risks to the growth outlook are fairly balanced. The downside risks stem primarily from external factors.
The GDP growth met projections made by some research firms and banks, while beating bearish forecasts of below 5%. Separately, in supporting countries' economic stability, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) has urged policymakers to prioritise keeping fiscal policy consistent, saying that the near-term outlook is still complex. The government appreciates and supports nurses for their sacrifice and efforts in taking care of the health of Malaysians. Health Minister Dr. Zaliha Mustafa, in conjunction with International Nurses Day today, expressed hope that all nurses will continue to work hard and improve the quality of health services in the country. The minister, through a Facebook post, also took the opportunity to thank all the nurses serving in Malaysia for the patience, perseverance and sacrifices they have made throughout their career. She said all the nurses in the country have shown the spirit of cooperation and dedication in carrying out their duties and responsibilities. Dr. Zaliha also described nurses as important assets to the country's health system because their duties and responsibilities are very important in ensuring that patients receive quality and professional treatment. According to her, nurses are also guardians of the well-being of patients in hospitals, health centres and clinics throughout the country. She went on to wish Happy International Nurses Day to all nurses in Malaysia and added that may this day be a reminder to all on how important the role of nurses in taking care of the health of Malaysians. In a related development, the Health Ministry MOH has submitted approximately 2,000 to 3,000 contract nurse applications to be absorbed into the permanent positions this year. Deputy Health Minister Lukanisman Awang Sauni said all the applications were submitted to the Public Service Department JPA for approval.
Walaupun demikian, jawapan daripada JPA sedang dalam perbincangan, kerana kita bukan hanya setakat fokus kepada kejururawatan, kerana number yang kita pohon adalah untuk hampir kesemua skim yang berada di dalam sistem KKM.
He said MOH has a need to increase the number of existing nurses, in which has so far reached 165,000 people, taking into account the building of many new health facilities, including hospitals and health clinics, including in rural areas. Lukanisman said that the duties of nurses indeed require continuous improvement, including the issue of staffing, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic that has hit the country. He said the recruitment of contract nurses has been considered by MOH to be absorbed in phases. If the additional appeal is approved, and the ministry is also doing a mapping process to optimise staff services, whether doctors, nurses and medical officers. Nusaiba Mazu's success in becoming the first Malaysian and Southeast Asian student to receive 6 outstanding student awards from Georgetown University of Qatar proves the people of Malaysia are capable of competing and succeeding at the international level. In a post on Istana Negara's Facebook account, Yang Dipertuan Agong Sultan Abdullah Rakyatuddin Al-Mustafa Bilal Shah and Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandariah congratulated Nusaiba on her success. Their Majesties expressed joy and pride over Nusaiba's success and for placing Malaysia's name on the world stage. The post read that the achievement once again proves that with dedication, strong fighting spirit and hard work, Malaysians can compete and succeed at the international level. The Majesties hope that the achievement will be a source of inspiration for other Malaysians to work hard and strive to achieve success in their respective fields. The Majesties also wish Nusaiba well and prayed that she will be blessed with continued success. Nusaiba, 24, who is the eldest child of former Education Minister Dr. Mazli Malik, was honoured with, among others, the Summa Cum Laude with the highest distinction award and the Deansley's Award. The Finance Ministry, MOF and the Transport Ministry, MOT and relevant agencies are expected to hold a series of meetings next week to discuss funding models for the Pulau Pinang Light Rail Transit LRT project. Speaking to reporters on the sidelines of the 3rd Maritime Law and Business Conference 2023 today, Transport Minister Anthony Loke Siu Fook said that the MOF has called upon representatives from the Mass Rapid Transit Corporation, Sundaram Berhad MRT Corp, MOT and relevant agencies to discuss the matter. Last week, the federal government announced additional funds to expedite the completion of the Pulau Pinang LRT project to ease traffic congestion in the state. The project is one of the main components of the Penang Transport Master Plan, PTMP. The Pulau Pinang government's plan for the construction of the LRT line is to connect Bayan Lepas and Komta. Meanwhile, commenting on talks of the proposal to appoint Tanjung PI Member of Parliament Wee Jek Singh as the new chairman of Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad KTMB, Loke emphasised that the power to appoint the KTMB chairman lies under the jurisdiction of the MOF. The 2-day Maritime Law and Business Conference 2023, theme Refueling the Future, Sustainability and Growth in a Post-COVID Era, is organised by the International Malaysian Society of Maritime Law, IMSML. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law and Institutional Reform, Datuk Sri Azalina Othman, said it is the right of the Malaysian Bar to pass a no-confidence vote against Attorney General Tan Sri Idris Harun. Therefore, she said the government must be open in accepting criticism from the people or professional bodies such as the legal body. Commenting further on the matter, the minister said that Malaysia is a free country and everyone has the right to do something as long as it is not against the law.
Kerajaan madani ini kerajaan yang mengamalkan demokrasi dan kita mesti terbuka menerima kritikan daripada rakyat ataupun pada badan profesional. Dan bagi saya kerajaan madani mesti menjadi kerajaan yang bertanggungjawablah, yang menekankan pada aspek transparansi dan accountability.
The no-confidence vote was part of a resolution on the independence of the judiciary and upholding the rules of law, which was adopted at the Malaysian Bar's Extraordinary General Meeting on Wednesday. Coming up next, KLIA Aerotrain replacement should be running by June next year. The government is committed to developing the automotive industry as a strategic economy sector that opens up numerous precision engineering opportunities. Investment, Trade and Industry Meeting Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tunku Abdul Aziz said established automotive producing countries have demonstrated a significant impact this industry can have on job creation and the development of a skilled workforce, as well as creating numerous business opportunities for small and medium enterprises, SMEs. He said opportunities abound in the areas is renewable energy, energy efficiency, energy storage systems and support services for electric vehicles EVs such as EV charging stations, operations and maintenance. The minister also assured that MITI is seriously looking into policies that will support these sectors to ensure the EV ecosystem is complete and fully supported, including standards, certification and verification related to charging systems, battery disposal activities, battery swapping and wireless charging. Meanwhile, Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul noted that the battery industry is an indispensable component in transitioning towards a sustainable future by electrifying transportation and balancing power grids. The Aerotrain replacement program at the main terminal of Kuala Lumpur International Airport KLIA is underway, with one rail line expected to be up and running by June 2024. Malaysia Airports Holdings Berhad MAHB Managing Director Dato' Iskandar Mirzal Mahmud said the progress of the Aerotrain operations had been suspended until further notice since March this year. Prior to the suspension, the 25-year-old Aerotrain service received much backlash over frequent breakdowns. Last year, it was reported that the Aerotrain replacement program was expected to be completed in 2025, involving 9 Aerotrains worth some 700 million ringgit to be implemented in 2 phases, involving design and construction works. Dato' Iskandar Mirzal said they had contracted 2 jobs for the replacement program to international and local parties.
By next year, middle of next year, we will have at least one line ready. And in the meantime, we are operating, I think the Terminal 1 team has been operating the bus. The bus, it's very efficient. Please go and see. Bus, you don't have to wait too long. The only snack that we have is probably in terms of it's too long of a walk.
The investigation into fugitive businessman Low Teck Jo, or better known as Jolo, in the case related to One Malaysia Development Berhad 1 MDB, continues and will not stop until the man is successfully brought back to the country. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akril Sani Abdullah Sani said the Royal Malaysia Police PRM and the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC will work together and discuss further on efforts to bring Jolo back to the country. Elaborating further on the matter, the IGP said Jolo was charged under Section 4, Subsection 1, Subsection A of the Anti-Money Laundering and Anti-Terrorism Financing Act 2001, AMLA, in 2018, although he did not appear in court. He also said that PDRM has indeed opened an investigation paper, and if Jolo can be returned to Malaysia, of course the charges will be pursued. On 5th of May, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the government is currently negotiating with the country concerned to speed up the process, but refused to confirm the whereabouts of the fugitive businessman. According to the Premier Anwar, the process is also very complicated because it involves another country, intelligence services, and the International Police Interpol. Datuk Sri Rosmah Mansur's money laundering and tax evasion trial at the High Court today has been vacated following her representation to the Attorney General's Chambers AGC to drop the charges. Judge K. Munyadi adjourned the first day of trial after Datin Sri Rosmah's counsel, Datuk Gathan Ram Vincent, told the court that the defence filed a letter of representation on the 3rd of May to the AGC. Deputy Public Prosecutor Ahmad Akram Garib told the court that they received the letter on the said date. He said the prosecution needed at least 2 months to decide on the matter, as the defence had raised serious legal issues in their representation. Judge Munyadi fixed 24th of August for the next hearing and vacated the previous dates on 28th and 30th of June, 6th, 7th, 28th and 31st of July, 1st, 2nd and 11th of August. Datin Sri Rosmah 71 is facing 12 money laundering charges involving 7,097,750 ringgit and 5 counts of failure to declare her income to the Inland Revenue Board. On 1st of September 2022, the High Court sentenced Datin Sri Rosmah to 10 years of prison and a fine of 970 million ringgit after convicting her of 3 charges of corruption related to the solar hybrid project worth 1.25 billion ringgit for 369 rural schools in Sarawak. The court also ordered Rosmah to be imprisoned for 30 years if she failed to pay the fine. In our foreign front, crane collapses onto Taiwan metro train, leaving 1 dead. A Taiwanese metro train collided with a crane that had fallen onto the tracks on Wednesday, resulting in 1 death and 10 injuries. Fire trucks and ambulances were seen next to the accident site in the western city of Taichung, as parts of the crane boom were still dangling off the side of the elevated metro railway tracks of a busy intersection. The deceased was identified to be a woman who was found in the train without vital signs by emergency personnel and was later declared dead. The 8 injured people included 5 men, one of them a foreign national from Canada, and 3 women who were taken to area hospitals for laceration injuries on their heads and limbs. The inside of the train cabin was severely damaged with push-in doors and windows, while passenger seats were scattered across the car's interior. The reasons for the collapse are still unknown. Operations resumed early yesterday morning on the affected stretch of tracks between Taichung City Hall Station and Jungzhongli Station. Thailand's Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has increased his appearances in public spaces in Bangkok and across Thailand in recent weeks and has actively participated in campaign rallies as the May general election approaches. Prayut, who seized power in a 2014 coup before formally becoming Prime Minister soon after, has been suspended while the court deliberates on the case filed by the opposition Pheu Thai Party. The court must decide whether the 8 years should include Prayut's time as a leader of the military administration he installed after toppling the Pheu Thai government. His deputy, Prawit Wongsuwan, is serving as caretaker premier pending the court ruling. Former Army Chief Prayut staged a coup in May of 2014 to overthrow an elected government, and his junta administration was formally recognized by the king in September of that same year. He became a civilian prime minister in 2019 after an election held under a military-drafted constitution. The controversy over Prayut's term limit is the latest episode in nearly 2 decades of intermittent political turmoil in Thailand, including 2 coups and violent protests stemming from an opposition to military involvement in politics. A Philippine court today acquitted former Senator Leila de Lima, one of the fiercest critics of ex-president Rodrigo Duterte, of a criminal charge stemming from allegations that as a cabinet minister she had received money from drug dealers. De Lima, 63, has been in detention for the past 6 years, and despite her acquittal, she will not be immediately released because of another case pending in court. She managed to express appreciation and relief before boarding a police vehicle that will bring her back to her detention facility. De Lima was charged in 2017, just a few months after she launched a Senate investigation into Duterte's war on drugs, during which thousands of users and dealers were killed, many by police or in mysterious circumstances. In a statement read by her lawyer, De Lima said she had no doubt that she would be acquainted in all the cases that Duterte's regime has fabricated against her. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan's supporters cheered on news that Pakistan's Supreme Court had ordered his release yesterday. His lawyer said the court had reversed all legal proceedings against Khan and that he needed to present himself to the Islamabad High Court today. Khan's arrest in a land fraud case sparked widespread protests across the country, and the government called the army to help restore order. The violence that spilled over after his arrest has aggravated instability in a country of 220 million people that is grappling with a severe economic crisis. Nearly 2,000 people have been arrested and at least 5 killed after Khan's supporters clashed with police, attacked military establishments and set other state buildings and assets ablaze. Khan has showed no sign of slowing down since being ousted in April of 2022 as Prime Minister. In a parliamentary no-confidence vote, even after being wounded in a November attack on his convoy as he led a protest march to Islamabad, calling for snap general elections. The graft case is one of more than 100 registered against Khan since his ouster after 4 years in power. Malaysian contingent bags 2 more gold medals in SEA Games. That and more next is sports. National Wushu champion Tan Chung Min once again became a sensation as she emerged as the first Malaysian to clinch 2 gold medals at the 2023 SEA Games after conquering the women's Takuli Nundud and Ganyun event final today. In the final discipline of Nando held at Troy Jungvar Convention Centre, Chung Min collected 9.65 points for an overall total of 19.16 points and confirmed her success to deliver the second gold medal. The silver went to Vietnam's Han Thi Tu Bin, who amassed 18.413 points, while Aye Titsarmient of Myanmar earned 18.303 points for the bronze. Earlier, Chung Min, who was the 2019 world champion in Nando, ranked in the gold in the women's Nakhon for the first gold medal of the National Wushu Camp at the 2023 SEA Games, apart from contributing a bronze in the women's Nando event on Wednesday. Chamin said the long wait for participate in the SEA Games was worth it after she was out of action in the previous two editions due to her discipline events not being contested. The wait made today's victory even sweeter as she added the 25th gold medal for Malaysia in this edition. Meanwhile, Nur Amirul Fakhruddin Mazuki was in a class of his own as he paddled to deliver Malaysia's 26th gold in the men's road race event. He left his wife and two children back home to prepare for the SEA Games, and his sacrifices were rewarded when he topped the SEA Games men's 150.6-kilometre road race in the photo finish. Nur Amirul ended the competition with a time of 3 hours and 22 minutes. It was his second medal of the Games after his silver effort in the criterium yesterday. The silver medal went to Indonesia's Aiman Cahyadi, while Ronaldo Osnalza of the Philippines had to be contained with bronze in the third place. National cycling coach Sayuti Zaid said the teamwork was the key to success today, as the entire team were tactically perfect and absorbed the pressure to stay in the breakaway group the entire race. Federico Gatti scored with a header 7 minutes into added time to earn Juventus a 1-1 home draw against Sevilla in the Europa League semi-final first leg yesterday. Europa League kings Sevilla ignored the heavy rain and pressure of the Italian crowd at the Park Alliance Stadium to dominate the game and look well on course to continue the bid for a record-extending 7th title before Gatti's last gasp effort left the tie evenly poised. Lucas Ocampos missed a sitter for the visitors, but Morocco striker and Nasuri scored with a tidy finish from close range in the 26th minute after a quick counter-attack led by Ocampos. Juventus recorded the first shot on target in the 65th minute when substitute Samuel Ealing Jr. tried his luck from distance with a tame strike that Sevilla goalkeeper Yasin Bonu easily held. Juventus were energized by substitute Federico Chiesa, who is still working his way back from a long injury layoff, and equalized with the last play of the game. Chiesa won a corner. Paul Pogba headed the ball into a crowded 6-yard box and Gatti jumped high to head home. Meanwhile, in another semi-final match, Roma grabbed a 1-0 home victory over Bayern Leverkusen yesterday thanks to the 20-year-old Cordoba's second-half goal. Burma youth product Bove stepped in the winner on the rebound in the 63rd minute for his first European goal. It had all started according to plan for Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen, who have not met a European final since their 2002 appearance in the Champions League showpiece. In a lively start, they came close twice, with Robert Andres' short save after 40 seconds and Florian Wirtz wasting a golden chance when he fired wide. The hosts missing several players through injury, and with Paulo Dybala and Jorginho Wijnaldum not fully fit and on the bench, responded with Roger Ibanez's powerful header, which Hideki palmed wide with a superb reflex save. They broke the deadlock just past the hour when both started a move and stepped in on the rebound after Hideki had saved Tammy Abraham's shot. The visitors almost back in an unexpected equalizer towards the end of a scrappy second half, but Jeremy Fabinho's 87th minute shot was blocked on the line. Roma bidding to win back-to-back European titles under coach Jose Mourinho following last season's Europa Conference League triumph travel to Leverkusen next week for the return leg. The winners will face Juventus or Sevilla in the final. Now moving on to tennis, Matteo Arnaldi upset former world number 8 Diego Schwartzman in 3 sets in the first round of the Italian Open. Playing his first match as a top 100 player, Arnaldi made the most of the occasion with a 6-1, 4-6, 6-3 victory to close the day's play on centre court. After a dominant opening set, Arnaldo missed 2 chances for an early break in the second as Rasmi found his footing on the Italian clay. The Argentine secured the first break of set 2 to force the decider. But the flash. Meanwhile, Belgian David Goffin made it through to the second round of the Italian Open as several top 50 players were knocked out of the HP Masters 1000 event in Rome. The former top 10 player defeated Italian wildcard Luca Nardi 6-3, 4-6, 6-2 in just under 2.5 hours to book his spot into the second round. Goffin took the first set in strong fashion before Nardi rallied his strength in the second to roll it back. The Belgian needed all of his experience to outlast Nardi and escape a precarious situation by converting 4 of his 5 breakpoints across the second and third sets. The former world number 7 Goffin dropped out of the top 100 of the Pepperstone ATP rankings for the first time since July 2014 on Monday. Moving on to cycling, Mats Pedersen of Trek Segafredo held his nerve to win stage 6 of the Giro d'Italia in the final sprint on Thursday after the peloton caught up with the breakaway duo of Simon Clark and Alessandro De Marchi 300 metres from the finish. All right, that concludes Malaysia Tonight this time around on Friday. In our top story, BNM announces national economy no longer in crisis. Do tune in to updates at noon coming up tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on TV2. You can also stream it via RTM's mobile click app. Till then, I'm Nur Zamri. Thank you for watching and have a good night.